Hello, folks, and welcome to Linux for Seniors. I used to have another previous YouTube channel, which I had over 400 plus videos. This I've started up recently, and at Linux for Seniors, Linux is for everyone. And my target audience is seniors or anyone that wants to learn Linux in a relaxed environment using simple words, pretty much. So none of my videos are going to be under 2 minutes, just to forewarn you. And I'm building my library as we speak, and there will be all kinds of material. I do encourage that you subscribe. That way you can watch this video and others in multiple sessions. In other words, you can start watching it, hit stop, come back tomorrow, next day, following week, whenever you have time to watch the remainder of that video. Today's video, again, is on SpiralLinux Mate. And I will give you some tips on the way. You may not have seen these tips anywhere else, or you may have, but more importantly, I'm going to also point out some simple and fun stuff to do also. I'm actually going to just open up Terminal for a second to give you system information. I'm going to use the command Neofetch. I just installed that. And more importantly, I will point out a couple of simple terminal commands a little bit later if you want to have some fun and not make this box so intimidating in case you're new to Linux. So basically that just represents the Debian logo. So this is SpiralLinux. It's a Debian-based distribution based off of Bullseye. And this is the Mate desktop. Now, if you're not familiar with that buzzword, different kind of desktops for Linux is like Cinnamon, XFCE, there's Budgie, Plasma. There's all kinds of different buzzwords. You know, it's almost like if you're ever used Windows, it's like comparing Windows 7 to like Windows 10, for instance. There's just different icons and how you interface with your computer. All right, so I'm going to close this for now. We're going to come back to that a little bit later. And I'm going to give you a tour of the system. So if we want to start over here with that simple calendar thing, you could do that. You can click on your, let me click that again to close it. Sorry. I meant to click the, if you have different Wi-Fi's, then you can obviously click that and put in your password. Down here also is your clipboard manager, your volume thing. I just happen to have a microphone hooked up. Bluetooth I have turned off, and more importantly, this is the simple screen recorder recording. And I'll have to leave that open the whole time I'm giving you this video. So there's a couple of icons on your bottom down here on your panel bar, workspace 1 and 2, and your file manager. Oh, I'm sorry, show hidden, pardon me, I take that back. Show hidden, or hide your windows in other words, and your Firefox web browser. I'll open that up in a minute. And Kaja, your file manager. So the file manager for this distribution is Kaja. So basically it just states on there, Mate. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of hidden things about this file manager that you may not be aware of. You know, we can all go to the view and click the zoom in and out in normal, and also this normally is coming in list view, but I altered that through settings, and I'll talk about that in a second. So this is normally how it comes. I just have the icon view. All right, it's just done through edit preferences, and whatever you have, it's the very first one. Whatever your default view is, how's that? Now, resizing these icons my way, I am right-handed, so I'm holding my computer mouse with my right hand. And most modern computer mice have scroll wheels on them. You know, you use them in web browsers and anytime you get a scroll bar. I'm going to actually use it to resize these icons. But I'm going to use my other left hand to do something else along with it. So my left hand is near my control key on the left side of my keyboard. It's a nice convenient spot. I'm going to depress and hold it, and then grab a hold of my mouse and use the scroll wheel to scroll up and down to resize these icons from dinky to whatever size I want. I think you'll find this method a lot faster than clicking zoom in and around. Sure, you can use the control key, but you're going to be doing control plus plus, and you're going to have two hands on it normally. This comes in handy with photographs or wallpaper. Now you can set any wallpaper or photograph. Let's say you bought a digital photo into this file manager, Kaja, in SpiralLinux. You got a digital photo, you brought it in with a digital camera, a smartphone, however you got it in here. You can right click on these things and set it as wallpaper. So these could be pictures of your children, your pets, your friends, or wallpapers off the internet. And I've got some weird stuff here. I'm going to use my new method that I just taught, holding down the control key while scrolling with my computer mouse to resize these icons. Rolling my mouse up and down, I can make them dinky or kind of in between. Once I get them to the size I want, I release the control key, and now I can scroll in the new resized thumbnail. You know, you can always open these up. I just hit the space bar, by the way, just to open that up briefly. And then I'm hitting the space bar to cycle through some of these photos. All right, if you feel more comfortable, double click on these things. It's the same thing. All right, so this behavior for this particular file manager is not your behavior, the behavior of clicking items. What's an item? An item is a file or a folder. That is the default double click, and that is actually my preferred on any Linux distribution, and I've been doing this for well over 25 years. Also used quite a bit of terminal commands to view files also, but graphical user interfaces, I prefer double click. Let's just leave it at that. So resizing icons on the fly is pretty easy to do, you must agree. Okay, so we have our standard user, whatever the name of your user, and I'm going to resize these back up again. Whatever the name of your user will be your home folder, and then you have your other subfolders and your trash can. Now, in my case, I have additional hard drives, and they're called devices, so they could be internal, external hard drives, or even USB sticks. Transferring files is rather easy. You just click here and click new window. You can actually make these boxes kind of, well, you can resize them to your heart's content, but you can make one of these like your documents folder and the other one coming off the USB stick, for instance. This is my backup drive. Let me switch USB sticks and give you an example of this. So I'm going to find a document that's not in here. This is my local folder documents. This is my media Linux backup. In other words, USB stick. I'm going to find an object in here and click and drag and drop it. So all I'm doing is transferring files, and I can go the other way. All right, just a simple, quick method of doing this for this file manager called Kaja. Lots of little tips for you. I can't get into all the little tricks and tips for you today, but I at least showed you a couple of them. Especially, you can resize icons on the fly. I'm just rolling my computer mouse scroll wheel up and down. That's all I'm doing while holding the control key. Keep in mind, if you're doing this, release the control key when you get it in the size you want. Let's move on. If you are not subscribed yet, I'm going to actually click on my YouTube site, just give you some tips. So I'll click the About first. I just joined this on February 9th. My previous YouTube site, I have over, I think it was 456 videos, somewhere in that range. More importantly, the videos are here currently, and it's building. The library's building. So in a couple of months, you'll probably...
Hello, folks, and welcome.
I gotta quiet this guy down. Sorry about that. Click this little key here. In a couple of months, you'll be able to use keyword searches. You can do that now, but there's just not enough videos. It's actually easier just to scroll through the video section. But as the library builds over 100 videos, it's probably easier to be using that thing. All right. So with that said, this is available only on regular web browsers. If you are using a mobile device, normally this magnifying glass is not on your applications on your mobile devices. But there will be a search bar in your mobile devices for YouTube, but it searches all of YouTube. So inside of a regular web browser next to the About key, when you see these, you can search the content. This will search the content of my videos, in other words. And I have keywords on all my videos. You can probably see the hints right here. It looks for keywords. Now let me click the About section and point down to something else. So I have a couple of links, and I'll be posting links periodically changing them back and forth. I have DistroWatch if you're looking for other distributions. I also have gnome-look.org for mouse pointers. Linux.com, it's FOSS, and it's all about free and open software. And let me go to DistroWatch and talk about this distribution. If you haven't been to this website, go take a look at it. It's a wonderful website. So we are dealing with SpiralLinux. I need to find it in this mess, right? So I'm probably overlooking it right now. So let's just do it this way. There we have it. Ah, they're number 61. I apologize. That list is so long. So anyways, here's a quick screenshot of exactly what you're looking at. But they offer additional desktops. Just wanted to let you see this. I'll double click on this there to make it a full size. Oh, and by the way, I'm showing an extra tip in here. I'm double clicking on this imaginary bar in here to make that bigger. All right, so SpiralLinux will give you a screenshot of one of these desktops. Today I'm using Mate. They offer a live medium. That means you can go to their website, download the actual computer image, as long as you know how to burn that onto a DVD or CD. Excuse me, nowadays it's DVD and USB sticks. You can boot your Mate system and actually test drive it without installing it. So this distribution is Debian based and it's based out of the United States. Okay, it's pretty simple to learn actually, even though it doesn't say beginners. Again, the live medium just means that I can test drive any of these different desktops. So here's an example of what kind of desktops they have: Budgie, Cinnamon, GNOME, Plasma, LXQT, Mate, and XFCE. The XFCE probably and the LXQT are probably the lightweight, if you want to think about that. They're more forgiving on really old computers. And then usually like KDE, Plasma, and Cinnamon need a little bit more horsepower as far as newer computers. Maybe last 6 years, maybe 5 years. All right, so again, you can get this this site right through after you subscribe, and I highly encourage that you do that. So I will have all kinds of stuff, and sometimes I post stuff in the community tab also. So remember that, Linux for Seniors. Now, let's continue. So you have the installation, and you have the language support thing. Then I'll click the menus. Let's talk about favorites and the search field. So if you're looking for a piece of software, all you got to do is start typing. So the software, run software as root, and run, I'm really not going to get into that, but I will show you the software store. It's a very pleasant looking interface, so you can install software graphically, and you can also install software this way through Synaptic Package Manager. Now I'm going to bring this up for a reason. Here you can do searches. I'll give you a prime example of one by name, if you're not too familiar with this. GIMP is like Photoshop, GNU Image Manipulation Program. So if I were to click that and mark it for installation, if it requires any additional software, just mark it and then hit apply. It's that simple. I didn't bring you in here for showing you that. What I wanted to show you is the sections all, how many packages are available for you to install. Over 60,000. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I like to bring this up and show this to folks. So you don't have to use this one, but you can. You can also use Terminal. Okay, so while it's sitting here, I might as well open this up for a second and let you see my history buffer. Or should I just make something really cute to get you comfortable with Terminal? Because a lot of people that are brand new to Linux will shy away from this thing. Have you ever heard of this command? It's just a simple calendar, right? You have one here. I do this quite often on video, so if you've seen any of these things, like I said, just bear with me. That's what I said on my last video. So I'm going to show you what program to install to get this, by the way, because it'll more likely not work for you the first time you use this, unless you install a certain piece of software, which just, it's a very real simple command. But anyways, what I can do with this command here is cal space, and I can put in a month, like January, and a year. 19, what are we going to use? How about 1965? So you got a friend born January 1965. That friend was born on a Wednesday. Well, he or she, I'm sorry, the 13th. He or she was born on a Wednesday. You can pick any date out of here. So if your friend was born on the 26th, they were born on a Tuesday, for instance. So I'm going to hit the upper arrow key to repeat that command and hit my backspace key. And this should work. So all I did was substitute the number with the actual 3 letters of the first name of the month, like February 2001. So that's the calendar from that year. So if you got a family member or a friend that is born on, let's say the 27th, they're born on a Tuesday. You can have all kinds of fun with your friends and family. A little bit of trivia, upper arrow key. Independence Day in the United States is July 4th, 1776. I could use July or just the number 7, it doesn't matter. So my question would be for the trivia is, what day was July 4th in 1776? What day of the week? We can go to the internet, and some of you folks already know this, but I can do this a lot faster than going to the internet. That was a Thursday. That's the calendar for July 1776. Again, it's the 4th. So I'm going to punch up clear and just give you a couple simple commands to try to get you comfortable with terminal. So I'm going to type in history. History is just the history of commands. So if you wanted to play this little calendar game on your machine, you want to install this right here. Let me break down how this works. You saw me do that Neofetch command. It uses the same command to install that. So that is the actual command to install stuff. You just need the proper name of the application or program. So sudo is super user do space apt-get in this distribution space install. So basically this part here is the install command, and this is the name of the actual application that does cal. The Neofetch is what does this. Do you want me to type it, or should I cheat? I'm going to cheat and actually just highlight that, and I'm going to copy this word and paste it on purpose. That's the command I was referring to. Let me drag this in the upper arrow key. So to get this command to work, all I need to do is this command right here. So again, sudo is super user do, gives me elevated privileges to perform an action, in this case to do an installation of an application or program, apt-get space install, and the name of the application. This one is Neofetch, this one is ncal, and guess what? Simple screen recorder, one word, is what I'm using to run this video on. I installed it through here. I could have used the software manager, but I did it through here. It's very quick. You don't have to install anything through terminal if you don't want to. You can stick with your software managers. Let's move on. That's favorites. So you have all A through Z applications, and there's quite a few in this distributions. There's disks if you're wanting to know more about disks, and guess what? I have lots of hard drives and USB sticks. As a matter of fact, that one has 2 partitions on it. A lot of people never think about that, but you can actually partition your thumb drives if they're large enough with different partitions. That one's extension for an NTFS. This is a native file system for Windows, Microsoft Windows, and this is for Linux, if you just want the example. That's just one application. Applications, programs, a lot of different buzz names. So I'm over here at accessories. So as I move down, I'm not going to talk about every single application in here, but you can figure out some of the simple stuff. You want an advanced calculator instead of the basic. Financial programming, that's all built in. Nice little toys, as one would say. Let's go back up. Pluma is a text editor. So what is the difference between a word processor and a text editor? Well, a text editor doesn't have a spell checker, and a lot of programmers like I write script files and also text files. But I use different text editors. I have used Pluma, but there's lots of different text editors out there. So I'll talk about word processors in a second. So let me go back to the menu. And we were still here. Also, there's a screenshot tool here. And you can grab the whole screen, including the desktop and the panel bar. This is your panel bar if you're not that familiar with Linux. Or you can just grab the current window. And it doesn't mean this window. I have to have something open for it to take that current window, like this. This is a current window, for instance. So I could grab just this box. You want to include the mouse pointer or not, you can deselect that and then take the screenshot. I'll send mine to the desktop on purpose. And there it is. Let me open it for you. It's just a sample of this thing. It's a good idea, and this gets confusing to people. They'll go X here. Well, wait a minute, because this is a screenshot, so I need to do it in here. But more importantly, when you're making system changes, it's always a good idea to make a screenshot of anything. What am I doing right now? I'm drawing a box around this thing instead of clicking it, because you can highlight multiple items to delete things. I'll give you some examples of that in a minute. Let's move on. So where was I? Oh, screenshot, sorry. Administration. This does use a Grub Customizer. Use it very sparingly. A lot of times I have used this in the past, and I basically normally have to edit the files a lot of times because I do multi-boot systems. But more importantly, just use Grub Customizer sparingly. What it's normally used for is if you're doing dual booting. Okay, so here's another shortcut to your package manager, Synaptic. Time and date thing, users and groups if you want to add additional users. The graphics, these are the applications that come installed. I like the eye of the, that's actually the same one as in the file manager. I'll show that in a little bit. Firefox is installed, but you can of course go to your software managers, either one, Synaptic or that regular software manager. In other words, here, software, and install other web browsers. You do have an email client, in other words, an email program. You got a instant messenger program. There's Office, LibreOffice. If you're not familiar with LibreOffice, it's kind of like Microsoft Word. I'm just going to hit OK. And I'm going to click that for a second. This is 7.0. There's some newer versions out there, but normally anything above 7 is it has a lot of bells and whistles. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the word test with an extra T just to let you see the squigglies. I'm just being funny, folks. It's a misspelled word. I think most people know what that is, but in case you don't, that's what that means. So I meant to write test. So it's self-corrected by, I mean, not self-corrected, but the spell checker found it. What kind of file formats can I save using LibreOffice Writer? Actually, quite a few. That is the native file format. Don't forget about this. If you decide to use this distribution or any LibreOffice, you have Microsoft Word equivalent type of saves here. There's lots of different formats, is what I'm getting at. I'm going to hit cancel. And we'll just go ahead and close that and don't save. So LibreOffice has a lot to offer you. There's a spreadsheet program in here, drawing, and presentation program, and all kinds of little toys and tools. All right, so there's a dictionary here too. So there's some other software here. There's some preferences. You've got different tools to turn on and off. You've got appearance, which basically is a couple of themes, some backgrounds. Fonts, you don't like the font size, you can change that to something different. Just use the drag bar if you want. Use that sparingly, by the way. But anyways, I'm going to close that. Where were we? preferences, I think. So there's a lot of things in here, including adjusting your display. You can see mine goes higher. It actually booted up in 4K when I first booted it up. When you're talking about mouse pointers, a lot of times when you're importing mouse pointers, and I have a couple of videos on my YouTube site for mouse pointers, but I haven't done one for the Mate distribution, but it's very similar to the XFCE. But more importantly, a lot of times your laptops have these kind of resolutions and they're non-changeable. In other words, you can't change all the resolutions that I have here. And those mouse pointers will become larger, those ones that if you've seen any of my other videos. No, this is not a 72-inch monitor. All of my Linux distro identify this monitor as a 72-inch. It's an LG, in other words, a Gold Star. But it is 43 inches, believe it or not. I use a lot. I like some big real estate. How's that? The reason I film in 1920 by 1080 when I'm doing videos like this is because they're normally really long when I do an intro video, so I get a faster upload when I film in this resolution mode. Okay, where were we? Preferences, I think? Yeah, that was displays. So there's lots of Heinz variety of stuff in here. So the mouse acceleration and stuff is done out of here. And let's see what else we have here. Software updates, time date manager, I think I already covered. I added the simple screen and VLC. I manually installed those through terminal. What you do get in this menu, the auto installed, is the Clementine music player and the Pulse audio volume control. System tools, again, your file manager Kaja, and Gparted is a partition editor for hard drives. An install command, because I'm running this in a live mode if you haven't figured that out yet. HTOP is a process monitor. It's already installed. There's also the other one, Top. For you folks that have been around for a while, there's an old movie called Topper. There's a man that I guess had a ghost. It's kind of a comedy ghost movie. Anyways, you can look that up on IMDb. Anyways, you can use that as a mnemonic to remember this command. Top is available for every Linux distribution in terminal. It's a process monitor. Close that. Just having a little fun with mnemonics, right? Well, that's what I try to do. Try not to be too serious, but at the same time trying to get the point across or get the information across. So there's tons of information and, tons of software in here. The control center looks like this. So you may use that instead of your settings if you want to do this in a big panel. You can drag the window out. You can double click on that imaginary line. You can click over here if you like. Yeah, that's a tip that you probably won't find in most places. You can also right click on this imaginary line and resize the window. Well, anyways, let me just do it manually. So you have a lot of these settings. You even have Synaptic Package Manager in here. Here's your user groups to add new users. Here's your mouse stuff. Displays, I already talked about. Power management. Put the computer to sleep, never or whenever you feel like it, right? If you're wondering why your display went black after 10 minutes, this is why. You can change that on AC power. Your appearance is done again over here. Screensaver, I don't know what you're into. But anyways, you may want to take a look at the time frame. And make sure that you take a good look at those also. You know, there's a Heinz variety of settings in here. I could spend a good 2 hours. I'm just going to cover a couple of things with your file manager. So I had made mention of resizing icons can be done rather easily. You can also right click and zoom in and zoom out if you want to do it that way. You can create a folder. You can create a text file. That's a text file that doesn't have the spell checker. That's not a word processor, in other words. You can open up Terminal here. You can also rearrange the items by different names and sizes. And now I'm going to show you something that you can do to multi-select items. You know, you can select these things singly and then hold the control key and continue clicking if you are multi-copying. Or you can just draw a box around these guys. What if I wanted these two? Well, as soon as you release your mouse and try to click that, it deselects these. How would you add these together? And what's the purpose of adding them together? Well, maybe for copying. So I'm going to start on the outside here and drag through these things and hold the control key to select these two guys. Then I'm going to show you how to compress something. Right click and compress. You have all kinds of different compression methods, starting with .7z, and .7z has other options, including passwords. Or you can have the most familiar one that is compatible with most systems, which is .zip. Don't forget to take a look at the file name. Since I multi-selected, it automatically defaulted to the name of my folder. So I can just call this one test1. And then you can send it to different locations, but I would recommend that you send it to the same location so you know what to do with it. Now I'm going to hit create. So it's compressing all those down to here. So now I have this. A lot of people compress things to put them on USB sticks when they don't have enough room. So I'm going to take that file and out of Documents, and I'm going to do it in a different way for you, just to show you a tip. Create another window. So now there's going to be two of these. And I can also resize these. So I can do whatever I want, or I can just grab the edge and make it a little bit smaller. These icons also resize independently. I'm doing my little trick, folks, holding down the control key and scrolling up and down. So what I'm going to do is, they're currently the same windows, believe it or not. So I'm going to click this USB stick here. And that's basically denoted by that funny looking symbol. You can probably barely pick it up. It's a USB symbol. But it says Media Linux Backup 5. That means it's a USB stick. So is this one. They're formatted differently, believe it or not. But I'm going to take test1 and dump it in here. All I'm doing is making a copy from my home folder Documents into this Media Backup Drive 5. I'm going to close this down for a second and show you a nifty little trick. When you have compressed files on a USB stick and you want to bring them into your system, you can create another window if you like, and you can also drag the file onto your desktop. You don't have to uncompress all of these. Believe it or not, I can just use one or two items out of here. I'll grab this owl, for instance, drag it out and drop it. And I don't know what that kind of image this is, but I'm going to drop it anyways. And then I'm going to leave the rest. Well, I'm going to grab one more. How about this PDF? How's that? And leave the rest of these in here. So now I can hit the space bar and see what this is. It's just an owl. I can double click on that and make it bigger. Double click to reduce it down. I could also use it the old-fashioned way, maximize or minimize. And of course, resize. So I'm going to close that. It's just an owl. So that's an image. I'm hitting the space bar, folks. Tells me all about it. Even tells me what kind of phone it was. This was taken with an iPhone 12. Even the date. It was something I was playing around with on my laser engraver. So this is a PDF. Now I can open up two ways. I hit the space bar or double click. And then you can go chapter by chapter. That's all up to you. I'm holding the control key on my keyboard while scrolling with my computer mouse to reduce the percentage. Ooh, another tip for you. Inside of a PDF, you hit close. So you can see, and now I'm going to do a multi-select with these three objects, or items. Items are again folders and files. Draw a box around those three and hit the delete key, and they're in my trash. So all I need to do is do a restore if I wanted to do a restore for one items, or guess what I can do in here? I can also make this a little bit larger and also do multi-selects in here and do restores. or restore single items. There's so many different little tricks that you can do. So anyways, I have lots of little tips for you moving forward. Keep that in mind. Subscribe. There's also hidden files in here. I'm going to hit Control H. Normally I place my mouse cursors in this folder right here on most distributions. I'm not going to show that today, but that's where it would go. That .bash history is a hidden file. The .icons is a hidden folder. What's inside of bash history? Does this look familiar to you? Remember when I was playing that little game, Guess Somebody's Birthday? And how to install that extra ncal to get this little command to work? This is the bash history. It's actually editable. Not that anybody would want to edit it, but you can. That's where that's stored. The file that keeps your commands in history. So basically I'm going to use Control H and I'm going to open up Terminal for a second and type in history here and hit enter. This information here is the same. If I click in here, Control H, and open up this bash history, this pretty much is the same information. Okay. They're pretty much the same information. It's this. So most of these commands you saw me use earlier. Okay. But anyways. So you can punch up history in your buffer, or you can borrow commands out of here if you like. You could literally, if I needed to borrow a command, I could literally go into this file and just do a copy and close this. Just some other little interesting tidbits in life. There we have it. All right, what's another command to close this box besides typing in exit? Alt F4. I'm going to close this whole file manager down using the same command, Alt F4. That closes any window, including a web browser. Okay, so I'm waiting for this thing to open. Again, this is not the zippiest in the world because what am I running this on? A USB stick. So don't forget to subscribe. Now I'm going to use Alt F4 to close this whole thing. My mouse is down here, by the way, folks. Alt F4. Just close that whole box. Hopefully you found some of these little tips helpful to you. So this is SpiralLinux, the mate desktop. Thank you for watching and have a great day.